you ever wondered why you associate the end of the year with goodwill and cheer? Or why your parents nagging on you to do something often leads to you doing it? Or why exactly advertisements work? All of these are different examples of conditioning, which is defined by Laura King in The Science of Psychology, 4th edition, as the process of learning associations. Conditioning is thought by some to be the primary method by which humans learn. Today I will explain the two different types of conditioning, classical and operant, and how they impact you. The first type of conditioning is classical conditioning. If you've ever heard of Pavlov and his dogs, then you've heard of classical conditioning. In this experiment, Ivan Pavlov was able to make dogs salivate simply by ringing a bell. Classical, according to the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica in the article Conditioning, conditioning starts with an unconditioned stimulus that produces an unconditioned response. Now, this just means that it takes something that has an inherent meaning to it, such as food, and uses the response it produces. The unconditioned stimulus is repeatedly paired with something that has no inherent meaning to it, called a neutral stimulus. Over time, the neutral stimulus comes to be associated with the unconditioned response. When this happens, the neutral stimulus is now known as the conditioned stimulus, and the response it produces is the unconditioned response. In Pavlov's experiment, a bell was rung, the neutral stimulus, at the same time that a puff of air with food powder in it, the unconditioned stimulus, was blown into the dog's mouth, causing the dog to salivate, the unconditioned response. Over time, the bell came to be associated with the food, conditioned stimulus, causing the dog to salivate every time it heard the bell ring, conditioned response. But classical conditioning extends beyond just being able to make dogs salivate. In my introduction, I asked if you've ever wondered why the end of the year seems to bring goodwill and cheer, even though the month of December has no special meaning to it. We have come to associate the end of the year, a neutral stimulus, with all of the festivities that the holiday brings, an unconditioned stimulus, leaving us with a general feeling of happiness at that time of the year, conditioned response. Or my question about advertising. Advertisers use all sorts of tricks to get you to buy their products. One of these tricks is endorsements. The product being sold to you has no inherent meaning to it, but the celebrity they get to endorse their product does. Over time, the positive feelings you have towards the celebrity will come to be associated with the product being sold to you. Conditioning extends to our everyday lives as well. For example, if you have trouble sleeping, try setting up a bedtime routine. If you do the same thing at the same time every night for a long enough period of time, your body will begin to associate that routine with going to sleep. Eventually, if you do this for a long enough period of time, your brain and body will start getting tired when you start on this routine, making it easier to fall asleep. You can break bad habits and turn them into good habits by redirecting your actions anytime you feel an urge to do a bad habit. Or if you have a fear of speaking in front of people, try listening to music you really enjoy prior to speaking. That way you'll associate speaking with the feelings you get from the music instead of anxiety. The other type of conditioning is operant conditioning. Operant conditioning works on a system of reinforcements and punishments. According to Jason Goldman in the article, What is Operant Conditioning in Scientific American, reinforcers are stimuli that will increase how often someone does a behavior, and punishments are stimuli that will decrease how often someone does a behavior. There are both positive and negative reinforcements and punishments. Now, positive simply means that a stimuli is being added, and negative simply means that a stimuli is being taken away. For example, a positive reinforcement would be getting rewarded with ice cream for managing to get all A's. A negative reinforcement would be your parents stop nagging at you to do something when you finally do it. A positive punishment would be a spanking, and a negative punishment would be a grounding. Now, operant conditioning is frequently used when it comes to dog training. Giving a dog a command and then rewarding them with food when they do that command is a perfect example of positive reinforcement. Operant conditioning is also used when it comes to child rearing. All the examples I gave are used when it comes to teaching children what they should and shouldn't do. Operant conditioning can also be applied to our everyday lives as well. For example, if you want to get better at studying, try using a reward system. For every 20 minutes of studying, give yourself a treat, like candy. Or say you want to start a new habit, like a new exercise routine. Start with something simple, something that will take you almost no time to complete, like just 5 push-ups a day, rewarding yourself after every successful completion of 5 push-ups. Eventually, the mental weight involved in forming a new habit will lessen, and it'll become easy to do this When it becomes easy, start working your way up. Do 10 push-ups in a day, rewarding yourself each time. When that becomes easy, do 20. Eventually, doing an hour-long workout every day will seem like a breeze. If you just look to the screen, expecting there to be a new slide, then you now know what it is like to be classically conditioned and how easy it is to do so. Throughout the entirety of my speech, I played a sound before moving on to a new slide, causing you to associate that sound with a new slide being shown. Even though there are a lot of technical terms when it comes to defining classical and operant conditioning, the concepts themselves are relatively simple. I hope today you have learned just how important conditioning can be in our everyday lives. From advertising to child rearing to hacking our own brains to be better students, classical and operant conditioning can be applied to a wide range of situations in our everyday lives.